So, we're called the Rave Story TV, and anyone who follows what I do, what I love, everything that I'm inspired by, it's all based around that 88 to 94 era that was the whole 88, 89 summer of love, the freedom to party, that we will not be stopped. Then we went into that bleeps and bass early breakbeat era, which undoubtedly set the pace for what was to come for British centric dance music. Then there's that mythical 91 era that sometimes gets forgotten in favour of the 92 big rave, hands in the air. Then we have 93, in which the music becomes so cutting edge, futuristic, experimental, that sits on the side of rave and anthems, but also goes dark and cutting edge and futuristic. Then we have the jungle era and the piano hardcore era. And when I was thinking about this man coming in to the podcast, and I've interviewed him before on my Music Monday shows a good 10, 12 years ago, I'd never thought about it like this, that there is not another person, for me personally, who has not only created the soundtrack and anthems of every one of those years and moments, but has also created tracks that literally go beyond the rave, that also are known, like even your nan, your mum, people know. Like, Floyd, before you say your first thing, all we want to do is dance, capture the 89, 90 spirit, the deja vu, the bleeps and bass, the daydreaming, cut the mid-range, drop the bass. Then in 92, like, we are hardcore, but then Let Me Be Your Fantasy. Then Euphoria in that 93 era. Then you capture jungle with You Can Be My Night. And, like, your vibe is incredible, Floyd. Like, seriously, mate, I don't think someone has captured every year, every era like you, and I'm in such admiration and awe of what you've done.
Nice intro.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, I mean, I think back in the time, we obviously didn't think of it in that way. Yeah. I think it's just by chance we've kind of captured, you know, all the sort of moments in a sense.
My whole life and inspiration revolves around all of those years and those moments. And I've said, you know, I've documented all my favourite people, producers, DJs, and it's everything I believe in keeping, like, the history alive. But literally, you caught, like, the moments so, like, magically, like it was meant to be. Like it's hard to explain someone managing to capture every part of that trajectory.
I mean, if I thought about it, it probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of basically comes with enjoying the scene, enjoying what was happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that time. And I suppose the reflection of the music is just us enjoying ourselves, you know what I mean, in the time.
Yeah, because it's like the whole, I think that whole basis of all we want to do is dance.
Yeah.
Like, all we want to do is dance. The struggle will continue.
Yeah.
That is literally the bed of why we're still here.
Yeah.
36, 37, 38 years later.
Yeah.
And you created the anthem. You created the track that was the...
I mean, I would put that down to the collective within Production House, because we was asked, I can't remember who even asked us to do the track, but you obviously know the Freedom to Party thing was going on at the time, and we were asked to do, you know what I mean, like a theme tune to it.
Yeah.
And this is what we sort of come up with, not knowing that, like, part of it would become so classic because of, like, the samples and the lyrics. You know what I mean?
because there's like just classic videos of like the police trying to shut raves, cars being overturned, and everyone's chanting. All we want to do is dance.
I remember standing in Trafalgar Square, and everyone was just like, wow, this is mental.
Yeah, it was it literally was the anthem of the people coming out of the summer of love 89, and we would not be stopped. And you caught the moment, but it, as you know, I'm fascinated by 80s soul and disco and funk and boogie and the music that become house. But not only do you, and we'll get into every year, we'll get into every rave moment, but you also made prototype house music pre that, like like the up tempo dance and soul. Tell us about all that, and then we'll get into the.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we were soul boys, and jazz funk boys, and you know what I mean. Used to go to gossips in the West End, raving like on the weekend and that. So I mean, our sort of grounding as far as music's concerned has sort of come through. From my parents to, going to clubs in London and stuff like that. And you're kind of hearing all that music. By the time like house, acid, all that sort of come round, the earlier influences is almost like the first thing you sort of reach for, because that's what you know. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you try to incorporate that into what you were doing. So, I mean, when you're hearing like a fall to the floor beat, all of a sudden you're just hearing these things. Oh, maybe that could work with this. Do you know what I mean? So you hear bass lines. Do you know what I mean?
Because a lot of jazz funk, the tempo of it was the tempo of house. Yeah, a lot of disco, and it's
and it's a lot of that music that like hip hop artists have dipped into. House producers have dipped into. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of like our bedrock. Do you know what I mean?
because production house just didn't come around in the rave and the hardcore like there was production house tunes. Was it 87?
Yeah, we were there before the scene.
Yeah,
we were literally there before the scene, making soul stuff, house stuff, touching on some of the acid stuff, and then from raving and going to places, it was like this new sound that's happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can take all those influences that we've learned again and pile them into.
It just always it's always felt so natural with your music. Like it's like you've literally had a front seat of the UK scene from the early to mid 80s.
You kind of could say that, because it's like we were there on the streets all the time. So we were hearing all the new sounds coming in from America, coming in from around the world. Like when you went to the record shops and stuff like that, like if you went to Bluebird, you're literally hearing all the latest stuff, you know what I mean, before anyone else was hearing it. And all that stuff influenced you. I mean, we were in recording studios around that time. So we could experiment, you know what I mean, from back in the early days. Do you know what I mean? We had bands, we were out gigging and stuff like that as well. So influences were coming from everywhere.
What was your first, in the 80s, what was your sort of like first taste of a hit or success as like either a musician or a front person or what was your first memories of you?
Well, my best mate, Lenny, his brother, Phil Fearon, had bands, you know what I mean? They were pretty famous with Candidate and stuff like that. So being around all of that, we were sort of like getting a lot of things sort of firsthand, you know what I mean? Sort of seeing the behind the scenes. So it wasn't just a case of like you see a record and you like a record or whatever. We saw what was behind the making of the record because of the connection and stuff like that. So we used to literally, because he had a studio, so we'd literally be in dead time recording stuff and basically trying to make stuff to impress him as well.
Right. He's Phil older than you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we were making stuff to try and impress him as well, because we wanted to obviously put stuff out as well. I mean, I'd say the earliest thing for me, we had a track out when we was probably about 17, 18. And we had a band then as well. So I would say kind of like that's the first thing that's like, you know what I mean, put that little nugget in your head of like, right, we can actually do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever end up on top of the pops in the 80s or?
Yeah, we kind of did with Phil stuff because we were behind the scenes with he was obviously massive with Galaxy and stuff like that. And we, you know, like I said, we were in the studio and stuff like that. So we were making stuff for him as well. And he sort of gave us the opportunity, one, to put stuff out.
Yeah.
And also to get in the studio and help him making stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, but this is all happening like when we were like really young. Do you know what I mean?
Because it's fascinating how studio environments work, doesn't it? I had a young lad, Maxwell from Australia.
Yeah.
We recently released a single from him, but he'd also produced with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg.
Right.
That's Snoop Dogg in recent years.
Yeah.
He said to me, Dan, like when I went and worked with them, they'd have like 10, 15, 20 different writers and producers in the studio.
Yeah.
Dre would get an idea or Snoop, and then the writers would go off.
Yeah.
And you forget those things in a studio environment, that there's a whole lot of people working on the music collectively.
I mean, it's a similar sort of environment that we grew up in because Phil had 2 studios in his house.
Yeah.
And one was commercial, and I come through sort of like the trail of engineering. So I was engineering like commercial, you know, outside bands and artists and that. Done that for years, you know what I mean? So that was kind of the grounding for us. So that environment that you talk about, you know, lots of people being in the recording environment.
Yeah.
Similar thing with us because we had so many writers, so many producers under that umbrella. Do you know what I mean? So we were, you know, constantly sort of in that environment of ideas and things, you know, popping in and out.
Because you'd write tracks, you'd sing on tracks, you'd play instruments, tracks, you'd engineer tracks, you'd produce tracks. Like, how do you learn that, or is it just like a natural gift that as you're going along, you get better at it? And
well, I mean, one thing that helps is obviously being in a band, but then being in that environment where you're in the recording environment, you know. So it's not just a case of like you're sitting in a room, you know, banging out music amongst like 7 of you or whatever. You're actually in an environment where you can be banging out music and that, but you can actually put it to tape, you can record it. You know, there was so much equipment there as well. You know, so it was a feeding ground, it was a learning ground, and all of that, you know, it just all drips into you.
Because what's fascinating is most people who sit in this chair, their introduction to making their music is, say, 89, 90, 91, a sampler, a computer, a small desk, and sometimes not even studio monitors, hi-fi speakers. But you come through the 80s.
Yeah, before the sampler.
Yeah, before stuff.
Well, I mean, the earliest thing that I remember was the Fairlight.
Right.
And, I mean, that thing cost like anything from 75 grand to 100 grand.
Yeah.
So depending on the artists that were coming in, some of them used to, you know, at that time started hiring them, or you'd get a programmer. There was a guy that came in with the machine, and you'd be watching him sampling, you know, and using this thing, and it's just like bloody hell. It's literally like a massive machine on its own. Do you know what I mean? And it's so complicated, but you know, that was kind of like the earliest influence of that sort of technology. But before that, it was a case of instruments, you know what I mean? You know,
with the Phil Fearon and Galaxy thing, because I had a lot of hits, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did you go all over the country, all over Europe?
Yeah. I mean, when we sort of got a bit more involved, we got into like the performing side as well. So we'd be on his videos, we'd be touring with him. I mean, yeah, we travel the world. You know what I mean? I mean, it was really sort of privileged to be in that environment to get that experience as well.
Yeah.
And all of that sort of helps towards the sounds that you're hearing and the ideas that you can, you know, put down.
What kind of countries? Can you remember some of the countries?
Well, I mean, the most unusual and still one of the best places I've been to is Iceland.
Right.
I mean, everyone will sort of say to you like, or say to you like, Iceland. I mean, what's so interesting? It's so interesting. The landscape, the people, the food, just everything. Do you know what I mean? So being able at sort of a young age, be able to experience all those things, you know what I mean? It was just out of this world. Yeah.
America or Japan or anything like that.
Went to America maybe slightly later. Went to the Middle East, all over the Middle East.
Yeah.
All over Europe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And I said a little while ago, did you do Top of the Pops?
Yeah. When we were touring with him and that, we appeared on there about twice, I'd say.
And what was that like? The experience of Top of the Pops as a young teen?
It wasn't quite, because you obviously grew up seeing it on TV and that. And when you're actually doing it, it's never quite as you think it's going to be. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit like, this is a little bit cheesy, actually. Do you know what I mean? So by the time when we were sort of doing more of our own stuff, when we did sort of eventually get onto Top of the Pops, it was like, nah.
It worked for you guys.
We're not doing Top of the Pops, you know what I mean? Because we didn't like the way that you sort of come across on it. Do you know what I mean?
And Baby D was a member of Galaxy.
Yeah.
Because the videos, like, I say this so many times in my when I go round to record shops, charity shops, and buy records. I still buy records all the time.
Yeah.
I always see Phil Fearon and Galaxy, and I often watch Phil Fearon and Galaxy videos, and see Baby D, and you'll be in them, and it's such a fascinating story because it's so before even house and acid house and rave. So Production House was the first track 1987 released, 86 or 87.
I couldn't tell you, I couldn't remember because it was more sort of like soul stuff that was coming out, and I'd say around that sort of time you'd have so many artists trying to make it in the business. Do you know what I mean? So you'd kind of be on the circuit, a lot of the same faces, bands like Imagination, High Tension. Do you know what I mean?
Amazing.
You'd see all these familiar faces around. Do you know what I mean? So it's all that is pre-rave.
Because in that era, like Bluebird had a label. There was Production House. There was Street Wave, which was Street Sounds label. There was so many great soulful R&B dance labels, and they all had this British feel to them. And I think after that period become the UK street soul, but then house, and it's people kind of started going in their various directions, but Production House in that period was so authentically British, London, soul dance music.
I mean, there was a distinct sound, you know what I mean, within the UK as far as that was concerned. But I mean, it developed, it branched off. You found yourself no longer going to the soul clubs, and you're hearing this different sound happening within London. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I remember the first time going to Heaven,
right,
and it literally was blew my mind. Do you know what I mean? And that kind of was what planted the seed as far as getting into the rave sound and the rave scene.
Can you remember what DJs it was at Heaven?
Paul Oakenfold. It was Oakenfold on a Monday, and I just remember just standing there, and literally it's like one of those, when the camera zooms in and pulls away at the same time. It was like that. Do you know what I mean? It was like, this is what I've got to be working on. Do you know what I mean?
Remember the kind of tunes he was playing?
I mean, on a Monday, I mean, you'd hear all sorts. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it was mainly sort of acid at that time. And that sound, and seeing the way people were moving and dancing and responding. You know what I mean? It literally blew my mind. You know what I mean? It was like, I've got to come back here and I've got to experience this again.
Can you remember all the other clubs that you were going to in that period in '88?
Well, I mean, around that time, I'd be going also because Paul Oakenfold was playing on a Thursday at Future.
Right.
So going to places like Future, Shum, and I'd say you kind of get in the early sort of house parties that were kicking off as well. All of a sudden it's like, no, there's a party going at blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? So you'd be like at parties hearing this new emerging sound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you sort of see some of the familiar faces, or you'd see totally new people. Do you know what I mean? And you're just literally in this whirlwind of just like following this sound. Then you're obviously hearing it on the Pirates and stuff as well, and you're literally just trying to follow this sound.
Yeah, because the thing that fascinates me about that moment you're saying, like Future, Spectrum, Shum, that like late 87, early 88, is it's the most secret society of the moment. And it's actually, when you, in mythology, it's this amazing thing, but it's actually this really insular underground thing that is like the first part of 88 towards the end of 88. Then all of a sudden, like having the likes of Andrew Pritchard, Mr. C, Joe Labyrinth, Fabio, people like you had that front row seat. They start sort of like explaining when these warehouse bigger things come in, or the field raves. Can you remember it, like going out of Shum and Futures, and then you like witnessing the big warehouses and the big field raves for the first time? I
mean, it's weird as well, because I mean that whole underground thing, it was different also as well, because like, you know, you used to go to soul clubs and all these clubs where you had to dress up,
right?
And you know, you dare not step on people's toes, you know what I mean? Stuff would kick off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you go to somewhere like this and it's like someone will step on your toe, or you step on someone, you're just like, you know, you're ready to fight. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's all good. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's all good. And it was like this completely different vibe. And I think that's also the thing that sort of attracted everyone into it. So when you did hear of parties going off, or you heard, you know, someone saying, well, there's a phone number, you got a phone or whatever, do you know what I mean? You was kind of up for it, because it was the people, it was the crowd, as well as the music, you know what I mean? The whole atmosphere of it all. So yeah, I mean, we ended up in places that literally didn't even know where we were going, what the places we were going to were called. You know what I mean? You're just following this wave that was going on, and you know, next thing you're in the middle of a field, or in a area where there's a big massive warehouse, and you're just dancing the night away. Do you know what I mean?
You don't care the name of the event, the DJs. It's just.
Well, I mean, even then, you didn't really sort of tune into the DJs. You know what I mean? Especially like when you went to the warehouse places. I mean, a lot of times you literally didn't even see the DJ. You just heard the music. You know what I mean? There wasn't that sort of focus on the DJ in those times. You know what I mean? It was just you turn up at an event. You know, you pay your money or whatever it is at the door, and you just start, you just in the vibe, you know what I mean?
We've had this conversation with so many of the legends who have sat there, that actually it wasn't about the DJs as such. It was about the collective. It was about that whole like oneness and that discovering this new thing and this new lifestyle. And like you say, not wearing a suit and being scared of stepping on someone's shoes. It's interesting, because now it's so DJ focused, whereas then it was all about
it was just the event itself. That was it, and everyone followed. I mean, we were literally like, it was like the piper was playing and everyone was just following it, you know what I mean? We were all hypnotized by it. And I suppose also when you saw more familiar faces that were turned up at all these places as well, it was like a community as well, do you know what I mean? And that was another thing that sort of drew you in as well. Yeah,
because a lot of what's going through my head is a lot he spoke about East London, North London. But ultimately, you guys were Northwest London, same as Reinforced were. And I think like a lot of sort of emphasis gets put on East because of the illegal warehouse scene. Pirate radio like Centreforce and Sunrise come out of there. North London because it had like a lot of like big DJ and again a lot of warehouse parties. And North and East kind of feeds into pirate radio. whereas is the football hooligans who discovered the rave.
Yeah.
But then there's you guys over in Northwest London, and you're creating the most incredible, forward-thinking, groundbreaking music.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say within those areas, you know, they kind of had their own sound in a way as well, because there were so many sort of musical events and stuff, and obviously you got things like Carnival happens in the area, lots of house parties, blues, reggae parties and stuff like that. So that is the foundation for some of the sound maybe coming from northwest London. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, production house and reinforced are just so pioneering. 88, 89. So you go into all these raves, all these clubs. You're immersing yourself into it.
Yeah.
5 years previous, it's all instruments.
Yeah.
It's writing music. It's studio setups. Then all of a sudden, your first like wave of house, dance, electronic music. What was that switch like over to computers and samplers?
I mean, for me, it was kind of seamless in a way because I was engineering as well. I literally saw the transition, and we were having like all this early equipment and early technology. So, you know, in downtime, if you had a studio session that come in, they may have hired in like loads of equipment and that. And obviously the hire company would maybe come back the following morning to pick up the stuff. Session's finished. You're like, right, there's an S1000 there, or do you know what I mean? An S950 or whatever. Let's see what this can do. Yeah. You know, there's a Lindrum or whatever. You sit down and start experimenting with all this stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And developing this sound, and it's just like, I mean, I'd say in some ways we're kind of slightly ahead in the game in a way because we had so much stuff around us and a recording studio, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So there was a lot of time to experiment, and you'd hear something and you'd be like, right, I heard this sound, I'm going to go in the studio and try and, you know, recreate or do my version of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So in 89, when there's like 88 is like this acid is coming through, the house is coming through, the warehouses are beginning to happen, the bigger raves are beginning to happen.
Yeah.
89 is like this the huge summer of love.
Yeah.
It's like the police are really clamping down. Yeah. There's like now we can go back and see so much historic seminal footage of that. And 89 is spoke about with such like wonderment.
Yeah.
It's such wonderment, and especially having some of the footage we can see and the music and the memories.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the police really do clamp down.
Yeah. And
you create the anthem for that movement.
Yeah.
The freedom to party, all we want to do is dance. Like, what was your inspiration of writing that track?
Well, I kind of came slightly later to the table with that, because that was some of the other guys, like with now Nino, and like Raj and Lawrence and Phil, they sort of put the basis of all that down.
Yeah.
And you had like Cleveland Anderson in sort of involved.
Legend.
You know what I mean?
The other week I played After 10 City.
Right.
And Cleveland, I believe, manages them in the UK or
right.
They're booking people in the UK. He was there. Yeah.
I mean, he was involved, you know what I mean, around that sort of time. So it was kind of him that sort of brought the project.
Amazing.
And he was obviously involved with promoters and clubs and stuff like that as well. And he was kind of the one that sort of brought that to the table. And I mean, Terry was almost like the genius, I'd say, because of the rap.
Yeah, the rap
that he put down. Because I mean, when you listen to the lyrics of that, it sort of explains the whole situation.
Mate,
you know what I mean?
Guns, trouble,
noise, fuss.
That ain't the way for the most of us. And then it's got so many other samples in it. It's so endearing.
But that's the thing. I mean, I jumped on the cut the mid range, drop the bass. Do you know what I mean? And you know, that's quite sort of classic now.
It's
you know what I mean?
classic. But yeah, the whole track is it is the era. It is the thought process.
Yeah.
The Freedom March at Trafalgar Square.
Yeah.
Explain that, being there.
I mean, it's all a blur, really, because it's like, you know, you're sort of part of the track. So we sort of got invited to go to the march, and there was also a rave afterwards as well. So that whole day was like a massive blur, and it's weird as well because there's a photograph of us. There's me, Jazz and the Brothers Grimm, which I would say is kind of the act that put Production House on that underground sort of movement.
Casanova.
Yeah, that's it. And so we were all sort of at that march during that day. And it's weird because I didn't know DJ Tamsin at the time,
right?
But she took photographs of us, and later on when we
Tamsin's legend.
I know, and it's like when we were,
and the character, she's a real character.
So there was photos of us in, I think, Hyde Park. There was us outside the Houses of Parliament, I think it was 10 Downing Street. And she just randomly took these photos of us, and she's like, I've seen you guys before, and then she's like showing us these photos. We're like, you know what I mean? And it's almost like that is almost been the sort of reminder of the day, because the day was such a blur. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like marching, walking through the whole of London. Then later on, you're going to this big, massive warehouse rave as well. The whole day was a blur. Do you know what I mean? But seeing those photos, it's like, right, that's what we were doing. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know if you know, but there's a YouTube channel called Kino Library,
right?
Who have basically they get loads of old footage, they license it, and then they sell it on, and they use their YouTube channel. Which, if people see stuff, they can then license it from them. Yeah, and they've had some amazing rave footage that has really, really blown up, especially things like energy raves where DJs are playing Frankie Knuckles' Your Love in a big field or a warehouse. But what's gone relatively unnoticed is they've got about an hour's worth of footage of the Freedom to Party rally and movement. I'll have to send it to you. Actually, I should put it below this video because I just happened to stumble across it a year ago. Where some of the other footage they've got has got hundreds of thousands of views. They've got tens of thousands of pieces of footage as far back as the 50s. They've literally got an hour's worth of footage from the crystal clear HD quality. And that will give people a real sense of what happened. It was late January 1990. Right. And it was
that will definitely stir some of the memory cells.
That will stir some of the memories. And I hadn't even turned 15 yet. I was working in a record shop that served all of the Centerfold Sunrise DJs, and I was working in the record shop on the Saturday in Whitechapel, and so many people were coming in going, we're going to the march, and there was such a sense of like, no one's gonna stop our movement, no one's gonna stop this, and I've believed that for my entire life, and it's one of the biggest inspirations of why I'm still here, because like the record you made, that movement, the collective togetherness of what was ultimately a small underground scene, it felt so massive to us. But that's like, I've honestly forever believed that like, you can't stop us, you can't stop this, and you guys and that rally and the promoters and they did that. So I want to thank you as a group for that, because as a 14-year-old, that inspired
you.
My entire being and life, if you like. And so much of, you could look back on it jaded and go, oh, it was all just cliched, or you could look back on it maybe in a spiritual way like I do, or an emotional, impactful way, and it really did impact.
I think it did, because I think a lot of people were sort of living it. Do you know what I mean? Because there was so much going on politically around that time, and then it's almost like the politics came to us in a sense of someone stopping you from having a good time. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, nah, do you know what I mean?
Doing that.
You're not doing that. And you know, going on the march and seeing that, and seeing the amount of people that turned out in London, do you know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, this kind of puts the marker down that, like, no, we're not going to be messed with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some incredible moments in this Kino library. It's spelled Kino library.
Yeah,
and it has. I don't even think they've named it correctly, and that's probably why it's lost in their repertoire of catalogue.
Yeah.
But there's moments in this video where they're not allowed to have the sound system on, so or they have to have it at certain decibels. So the crowd is literally singing Debbie Malone, Patty Day right before you.
Actually recorded with Debbie Malone's producer as well. Yeah,
amazing. And everyone's just doing that dance.
To
an acapella of a song, and someone's rapping about the scene at that moment in time. And I think without that moment, we wouldn't be here. And then also something that I've always thought about, and this feeds into, when people go, our era was the best. No, but it just died after that. Yeah. It never, because this then leads into like all of those moments that I describe, how I see you and your music. Like, people come and go, and they have these moments where maybe the summer of '89 was their thing, or maybe they get on the train in 90 or 91 or not. Like, people have these moments, and not everyone's going to stay on the train forever. Some people do get off after 6 months or a year or two. Some are lifeless and stay there forever. You then, all we want to do is dance. We will not be stopped. Then the bleeps comes in, and then all of a sudden, deja vu, daydreaming. Like, they literally captured 1990. Where's your headspace with that bleepy era, your creativity?
Following the music, literally following the music. And I think by then we were well and truly hooked. Do you know what I mean? So you're hearing all these different sounds, and it's like, because we're from that recording side. Do you know what I mean? And there's that creativity, as well as being ravers as well. Yeah. There's that creative side where you're hearing these sounds and you're just like intrigued, and you're just being pushed by something. Do you know what I mean? Just saying, try that sound. You're hearing this, you like that, do your version of it. Do you know what I mean? And it was literally following the music, because I think when you hear music in a particular way, like, hearing reggae, hearing soul and stuff like that, but then there's this new canvas, do you know what I mean, that hasn't been painted yet, and you're kind of part of making up the new rules in a sense. You kind of like drawn into it, do you know what I mean, because you're literally, I wouldn't say we were aware of making something that had never been done before, because it was more just about being taken up in the moment and that, but you felt that like you was in something special. Do you know what I mean?
Dreaming was magic. Can you remember the writing and creative process of you all in the studio? Like, because it's daydreaming is one of my 1990 is an incredible year, right? And you've seen how often do I go to massive gigs and play Let It Be Your Fantasy. It's a soundtrack for huge festivals, big gigs in Ibiza. But daydreaming just touches the soul like differently, because it's from that. It's still from like a secret moment in time. What can you remember the studio sessions and the?
Not really, not so much the studio session itself, but I remember the sort of feeling around that time, because you're hearing obviously the sound, which is slowly changing as well. But then you also have your creative ideas as well. And because we've obviously come from writing songs, recording vocals and stuff like that, I think at that time I just thought to myself, well, I'm hearing this underground sound. How can I blend the two things together, get a vocal on something that is predominantly sort of like instrumental? Do you know what I mean? And that was kind of the result of it. Do you know what I mean? Because my brain sort of works in a way where you're just being constantly creative. you know. So you're experimenting. There hasn't been a sort of blueprint for this as yet. You know what I mean?
Makes it so magic.
Yeah. So you kind of felt like you was in a place where you could do what you want. You know what I mean? Because it hadn't been done before. So you're just in there with all these mad, crazy ideas and that, not knowing, you know, what it's going to do out there, because predominantly that wasn't really what it was about.
Because there was, like you said, there's no blueprint, and you know, and like, if I'd have heard myself saying this 10 years ago, I'd have had to have given myself a slap to wake up, because like I've always defended new music, even if I don't play it, because I always think I don't want to be that old git who goes, well, we did it different in our day, or we did it better. But as time has gone on, the especially when I do an 89 mix or a bleeps bass mix or a 93 set, the makeup of every single tune is different. The soundscape is different. The beats are different. The vocals are different. Even if things are in or out of keys, sometimes irrelevant. And now I've even got to a stage where if I mess up a mix, I'm no longer bothered about it, because there's something about the human touch and what authenticity was back then. And I honestly have got to the stage where I listen to lots of new music in whatever genre and think you're all using the same sample packs. You're all using the same spectrum analyzers to get bass, mids and tops. Absolutely perfect. And actually, I despise hearing myself be this guy. Actually, creativity and decadence and having no rules and like everything was better in our day, because there wasn't rules for you guys to follow, so it made it so much more exciting and experimental.
I think around that time it was more about the idea. You'd have an idea like, right, that's it, you know what I mean, I'm gonna stick this down. You like you said, you weren't concerned about whether, you know, how it looks on a spectrum analyzer, and you know, making sure, listen, if the bass was too much, stay there. You know what I mean? More bass, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I love those times because there wasn't the rules, you know what I mean? Or the idea that you have to fit on a track. You know what I mean?
None of them are DJ friendly.
No. No. Structure-wise, like you said, key-wise, you know what I mean? Sonically, you know what I mean?
Everything's so like, there's no rule book for them. And that's what makes them so magical and mystical. It's like sometimes when I play Daydreaming from vinyl, like I really struggle with the at the start before the beats come in, because it's almost like maybe that part's been cut on tape and then the beats cut, or however it's gone. And like, and I was saying this to DJ SS, over the years, like as a DJ, I become so perfectionate that I would kick my record box or the whatever was underneath the decks because I'd got a slight
right.
That's it. Whereas now I think to myself, can we go the opposite way? Can we have some rough and ruggedness? Actually, does every tune we play in a set have to be identical soundscape from the same mastering engineer? Can every track actually be an occasion, and every track be different, and every track be a different soundscape?
I think Daydreaming kind of sums it up in a. I mean, from all the tracks I've done, I'd actually say Daydream is my favorite one, and it kind of personifies a little bit what you're saying, because when you listen to it, the breaks are not in time perfectly. Do you know what I mean? There's a lag that sort of goes on behind, because I couldn't quite get, you know what I mean, it to sit where I wanted to, but there was also an organicness about that lag as well, and it just gave it a feel. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, it would be good to sort of go back a little bit and just like, I'm not bothered whether this is in time, or do you know what I mean? It's more about the idea. I've not given up being perfectionate. But I've given up being overly critical for the sake of going, I've missed a hi-hat or because some of the greatest sets from our peers and that are not that tight, but they're just incredible in energy. Some of our favourite tunes from 91
when you mix them on vinyl,
Yeah.
simply don't stay in time in the way that digital music does, because they wasn't meant to be like that.
That's right.
You like you're if I think of daydreaming, if I think of Keep the Fires Burning, if I think of like We Are Hardcore, they don't start with DJ intros and outros.
No.
You've got to really think about how you got, and that makes the magic.
See, around them times as well, it was. I mean, the whole sort of like making records for DJs kind of came a little bit later on. This was more about, right, this is the idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it was just a string line, you know what I mean? You weren't concerned about, because like I said before, when you went to these events and that, you didn't see the DJs. So it's just like, you're just hearing music. So your concerns weren't about whether a DJ will be able to mix this in or whatever.
Do you know what? Real staunch vinyl heads who may become latter than 89 or 90. Do you remember that time in a rave where the DJ would slow the 1210 down? The anticipation in the audience, and then something like Daydreaming. The music mattered, like that intro bit, and there was always that sort of like air of anticipation, like there was always something in the air. Think about that. A DJ would slow a 1210 down, the most basic of things, but it would leave a crowd like, what's next?
But the thing is, I think there was so many tracks that had really good intros as well, so it was kind of a thing. I mean, like when you think of something like Strings of Life, you had to hear the intro to that. You know what I mean?
Need to mix,
and so many tunes were kind of made that way, where the intro was just so great. Do you know what I mean? You know, so that was more our thinking of like, have something that, like, you know, when it comes on, you know, people you know, get are familiar with it. Do you know what I mean?
After that bleeps and bass era, things started just gradually in 91 speeding up. Kicks were being taken out much more. We were undoubtedly out of the housey era of New York, Chicago, etc. Definitely an influence from the Europeans and the new beat and the techno of 89, 90. Keep the Fires Burning. That just sums up like 91 when you think there's WIE, there's Keep the Fires Burning, there's just certain GEE, Ready, there's certain instrumental with a little bit of vocal breakbeat, some hardcore elements in it. It's just so natural for you again just to capture 1991.
Well, I mean, I think this is again where the sort of grounding kind of came from as well, because from a lot of the sound that I was hearing, especially like when you're on a dance floor as well, there's certain things that give you that buzz as well. Do you know what I mean? And you're sort of watching other people and sort of seeing other things that give people buzz as well. And I just thought vocals, do you know what I mean? When I mean, as much as you love the bass and the beats and stuff as well, there was always this thing about vocals, do you know what I mean? And I wouldn't say around that time we were aware of the sampling issues, because there wasn't really any.
You could just sample yourselves, though.
Well, no, that's what we started doing. Do you know what I mean? We started sampling ourselves because we, you know, obviously into writing and stuff as well. That whole idea or that premise of like sampling stuff that either you own or is just really sort of obscure, that really started early for us. You know what I mean? So having a track like Keep Fire Burning, where a lot of the samples were your own, but then obviously, you know, you got your rhythmics and all that stuff in there as well, and Moni Love. But yeah, you know, I think from that point onwards, that's where I really got hooked into the whole sampling thing. The 91 is a magic year. You also had some really underground stuff. The FZ has recently been reissued. Well, you're the one that worked out who was buying.
Then there was.
I remember you ringing me and going, that FZ. That wouldn't be anything to do with you, would it?
I've got to give one of my closest friends, Gidman, the credit for that and basically there's four of us. We're absolute geeks. Actually, I'm in two really geeky groups.
Right.
There's one, my vinyl friends, right, which is Gidman, Richie K, and Johnny Scratch, and we are just so geeky about things like that. Right. There's no. It's just. Did you know he did? Oh, I'll go and ask. Right. And then like the modern era. I'm then in a group with Pete Cannon. Jay Cunning, Arkin, T-Cuts and Swank Out, who they keep me in touch with, all the jungle. We discuss other geeky things about music and production. But there was the FZ, and then there was you remember the last time I interviewed at mine and Sonia's house, there was and I play it all the time, and how have I forgotten it? Floyd, my brain's gone blank.
Oh, mine's been frazzled for a long time.
The piano Stingray,
yes.
Stingray's another one that I am shocked that no one's picked up and said, Floyd, we need to reissue this. And if I wasn't so wrapped up in my DJing and my podcast and my radio, I'd probably go, come on, I'll reissue it all. But the beginning was late 91 as well, and it has elements of the same. Why didn't they go on Production House?
Well, the main thing being we were making so much music, and there almost wasn't the space, because when you look at like the schedule for the releases and that, it was so crammed,
right?
And there literally wasn't the space for a lot of the stuff. I was making more music than we could sort of release. So and also for some of the stuff, it was probably more experimental as well. Because like you're hearing, whilst you're hearing this sound out there, you're trying to make stuff that sort of falls within that, but obviously with your own different twist, and you know what I mean. And because we literally had too much music, it was like, okay, maybe we could do an alternative label, and just stick this out. No promotion, no nothing, no labeling, you know what I mean, or minimal sort of labeling.
Could you have ever imagined in 1991 when you're doing like an experimental track, like the recent reissue of the Orange FZ, isn't it? That in 35 years later down the line, that it would be reissued, and people and vinyl fanatics and 50 to 6-year-olds would be marveling over this rare track that maybe have got on a few sets. Because how many would you have sold then? You know, because it was so scarce that it meant there had to be a reissue.
I mean, at the time, I think a shed load was sold.
Wow.
And that was basically based on the sort of reputation that Production House were kind of having. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, we had our own people that were like Raymond and Jane that was selling direct. That was selling direct to the shops and that. So we were getting like instant feedback, as you know what I mean, as to what is selling, what isn't selling, the type of sound that is sort of working out there. And so as Production House got more popular, I mean, as it went further down the line, shops literally didn't even think about how many they were bringing in. It's just like, Raymond, like, I've got 10 boxes. Yeah, give us all that.
So even if it was just a track that wasn't on Production House but was coming from the office, they were just enthralled.
Well, that's the thing, because they knew that the tracks were moving. So Raymond could literally walk into shops and it's like, okay, this is the new release. That okay, we'll have boxes and boxes of those. Raymond's like, well, we also got this as well, but it's a bit hush hush, blah blah blah. Okay, give us a couple of those boxes as well. Do you know what I mean? And some of the more obscure stuff was sort of just based on that. It was based on the fact that because of Production House being popular now, he could bring those in through the back door.
Ray was MC'd and host for you guys, but he also did for Liquid as well, didn't he?
Yeah. That's right, for Eamon,
Sweet Harmony, Liquid is Liquid. And Eamon was very, very, very fond of Ray, and there's some great footage of Ray and Eamon in like 92 in Ireland and stuff. When Eamon passed, it was sad, and actually I think it was last year, Ray was, I think you guys were on before me at Calling the Hardcore. Right?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Think so, or
Yeah.
maybe after, and
Yeah.
and like calling the hardcore where I'd opened all my sets at the time. Eamon went with Sweet Harmony.
Yeah.
Calling the hardcores a real underground, and I thought liquid is liquid.
Yeah.
And I looked out the side of my eye, and there was Ray.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mike.
Yeah.
Because he toured with
Yeah.
you guys as well as
Eamon. Yeah.
as well as Eamon.
Yeah.
And mate, like 91, because 91 was when Sweet Harmony come. Was Aeson's first release 91?
I think so. Yeah.
Is the original version?
I think it was. Yeah. That would probably be about right. I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you work with Aeson on those tracks? What was your involvement on them?
Well, I mean, when Close Your Eyes first came in, because it was DJ DMS.
Yeah.
That had a friend who had a friend who came to him and was like, yeah, there's this guy, he's done this track, blah blah blah, and it was sort of in a sort of rough demo kind of setup. Do you know what I mean? And we were like, yeah, we really like this stuff. Right. Do you know what I mean? And so we invited Aeson to come down, and we literally got in the studio straight away, pretty much, and just started, sprucing the track up, tightening it up, getting the sample sounding clearer and stuff like that. And then, we never kind of looked back from there. Do you know what I mean?
How old was Aeson?
He was young.
Right.
Yeah. I think he was in his teens, I'm sure he was. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guided him along, got it sounding.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, he's so talented. Do you know what I mean? So I think he was using a W30 sampler at the time.
Right.
We were using the MPC. So as soon as he come in the studio and saw what we were working on, the type of sounds that we were kind of getting in that, he was like, right, that's it, getting rid of the W30. He's getting an MPC as well. And we just bouncing off each other all the time. Do you know what I mean?
So when I think of that 1991, you're almost 10 years down the line from your jazz funk. You're learning it with Phil and touring and traveling.
Yeah.
And like you've got a skill as well as all your producing and writing, but also talent spotting. As well.
I mean, I was kind of unofficial A&R simply because we were out there hearing this new sound, so we were sort of like at kind of the front of it in a sense. So if people and also because we were releasing a lot of stuff, so many tapes come in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So many people approaching you, like when you went out, I've got this idea, blah blah blah. So we were getting sort of talent thrown at us. I mean, some things were exceptional, some things were just like you know what I mean, not so sure about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when Ace and stuff come through, it was like, you could hear something special here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because he has some of the most like that. The whole part 1, 2, and 3. Just like,
I mean, it's
the way magical releases.
It's the way his brain works as well. That the samples that he chooses or uses, or the way that he gets things to work together as well. It was just mental. Yeah.
Can you remember your first gigs in 91 as the house crew?
Gosh, we done so many gigs. I mean, I was used to gigging anyway, but yeah, I mean, the more popular that production house became, it just seemed to make sense for us to go out on the road and do PAs and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I mean, I can't exactly remember the first one, but I just remember there being lots of them as well.
Any standout ones from around the UK?
Gosh, I mean, we literally done everywhere. We done like Energy, and I think we done Sunrise. And everything was starting to kind of move in towards the clubs as well. Yeah. So yeah, we done so many clubs. You know what I mean? It was just mental.
I bet you see some right old states in 91 Energies.
I mean, the thing is, when you're driving up like places like Newcastle, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Where you no one's probably been out there doing any PAs and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? You'd literally driving to these most obscure places.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, it's like bam, you're in a club or in a warehouse or an event, and there's people just having it. You know what I mean?
That 91 hardcore era, he's a pretty different era to the 89 one.
Yeah.
And like England up and down the country, that whole ravey it was always about ecstasy, but the intensity of the ecstasy becomes so different 91, 92 times. And from performing at like you say, Sunrise and Energy, how different was the audiences from almost 3 years later, from one moment to the next?
Well, I mean, you know, the drugs changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whereas like I'd say in the early days, it was definitely more loved up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Places started to become a little bit more intense. I mean, I wouldn't say that you necessarily saw any violence or anything like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, the atmosphere definitely changed. I mean, you know, even if you go to somewhere like Scotland, you know what I mean? Completely different crowd, completely different way of having it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Because you know the bad thing, like my mind's just got off one there thinking about those, and I haven't really ever thought about this. Like saying, I bet you see some states in 91 and 92 because we all did. But when my friend Mervyn, who gave me my name, worked in the record shop. I was his apprentice. He was taking me to certain raves in 89 when I was really young, and I never really see people screwing their faces as much as they all of a sudden, like when the hardcore come in, all of a sudden people's like rush and their butts become so much more intense. So I don't know why I even brought that up and said you must have seen some states, but I think we did in front of us.
Literally, you see people almost sort of melting in front of you. Do you know what I mean? Because of the intensity of the music, the atmosphere, whatever. Literally, people just like,
what,
you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm pulled for a you got to sample yourself. But yeah, 89, 90 was definitely different. It was, of course, it was loved up. 91, 92. But I think the music becomes so intense. The ecstasy become so intense, and it was just so different. Do you think that drove your music as well into 92 when things started getting sped up? And
well, I mean, we were following the sound, and I guess you could kind of say the drugs as well. And you were moving within whichever sort of area the music and the raves themselves were going in. Do you know what I mean? Because it was so fluid. You know, so you were hearing the changes. And it was changing very quickly as well. I mean, from like you said, from like having 4 to the floor bass drums to music to then taking out the bass drums, it's more breakbeaty, getting faster. We were following it. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it was literally like a wave that was going up and down the whole country. Do you know what I mean? So you did. I think also because we did go up and down the country as well, you could see
different vibes.
Yeah, completely. Do you know what I mean? And see how Scotland rave compared to like you know, Southend or something like that.
Because you so 89 going into 90, you captured all we want to do is dance and our movement. But hardcore was such a thing, and you declared we are hardcore. And that's like that was so anthemic for the crowd, for DJ. Because when you're younger, and like I say, even now, I believe this stuff. This is your life.
You were living it.
We are living this out on the dance floor as DJs, for you as producers, and it doesn't. Every moment that you create does not feel contrived. It literally feels you mean this.
And I think that's testament to just living the scene and living the moment. For what was going on. I mean, even doing that track, there was a kind of hint of thinking, is this a little bit cheesy? Do you know what I mean? But then it was like you said, it fitted with what was going on, and it's not until you sort of go out there, you're PAing the tracks or just seeing the tracks played in the clubs and you're seeing the reaction from people. It's like, it's pretty spot on.
It is spot on, and it captures it. And I think a lot of the time there's this period of hardcore in 91, 92 that almost gets forgotten about in favor of like this aim and breakbeat, the emergence of jungle or the splits of the music. But hardcore, as in 91, 92 hardcore, whether it was coming from Europe, from Belgium or Holland, or the hardcore that you, Ascend coming out on Suburban Bass, For Hero coming out, you know, Open Skies on Reinforced. There was a hardcore British sound that was humongous.
Yeah. And I think everyone in and around that time was feeding off of each other, because it's like you said, you'd hear a new track from Reinforced and you're thinking, gosh, that sounds amazing. Do you know what I mean? How the hell did they do that? So you wanted to go in and make your next track be either better than that or just on that level. Do you know what I mean? Because you're hearing these new sounds, new producers, new people making music. So you just, I wouldn't say that it felt like a competition.
Yeah.
It was just more a case of
inspiration. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're being inspired by the sounds that you're hearing, and you're just like, yeah, that's been amazing. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, gosh, I wish I made that track.
Did you go into Reinforced Studio?
Yeah.
Was you like friends? Being from the same era, like.
I mean, we weren't necessarily friends, but our paths did cross. We went to like their studios. Ian come to our studio as well. So there was definitely an interaction, you know what I mean? But we were so well aware of the sounds that they were making. I always thought Mark Mack was just a genius. Do you know what I mean? The stuff that he was making, it was his sound. Do you know what I mean? Digo was his sound. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, they've just gone on from strength to strength. You know what I mean?
I've always said this. And even though you're a production house, Daddy Suburban Bass is a great friend of mine, and so on and so forth. And like I pinpoint like to you having like amazing like moments in every golden year. I always say Reinforced is my favourite British label. It's so authentically British in what it did to then get to hardcore and jungle and breakbeat music. And I just wondered, both being from the same area.
I mean when I heard A Special Request, because that was so early in the days, and I was just like, who is this track? And for a long time I didn't know who it was. You know what I mean? And then to find out that they weren't that far away from us where we were based. You know what I mean?
You guys. So 1992, We Are Hardcore, Just Like Magic. This remix of that's wicked. Before we get on to Let Me Be Your Fantasy, many times people have asked me, what is your favourite tune of 1992, right? And this might blow your brain and people might go, the anthem for me at Labyrinth, Desire 92, Tasco Warehouse, something that defines my sets, what I'm passionate about, probably to do with the vocal, the changing of the music, Mr. Music, Murder a Star.
Ecstatic.
What a tune. It's real early jungle. And it's a second track on a B-side.
It was an EP, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a vibe.
And I would say because that was with Ecstatic, and it was myself and Asen going in with Russell at the time building that track, and I'd say my working relationship with Asen is sort of really picked up pace then. Do you know what I mean? We literally just churning out stuff together. Every time we were in the studio together, it was like whatever we were working on really worked really well. Do you know what I mean? So we were on a bit of a roll. So by the time, you know what I mean, we sort of made that connection with Ecstatic, it was like, let's go in and, you know, brought a bunch of samples together.
I love that tune.
And I mean, most of that EP was pretty much knocked out in about a week, I'd say.
Really?
Yeah.
Back in the day, like, did you, like, me and SS was discussing this, when you'd be in the studio and you'd have all of your tape going across the mixing desk, and you'd have to reel off the tape to go back to an old tune and scared to touch the EQ because you'd spent time. So how long would it take you to make, on average, a tune in that one track in that period?
I would say Because the thing is, we were doing two sides,
Right.
so you effectively be making two records every time, and I pretty much had it down to a couple of days to have two tracks ready. So you got an A and a B side, and that was one of the things as well that we kind of went for as well, is to have two tracks. So not to say that like one track wasn't great, but like we said,
alternative.
Well, no, because we were also making so much bloody music as well. It was like it was a chance to do more music as well. So it was like, yeah, do an A and a B side, and I'd say it's roughly about 3 days.
Right.
3 days to get all that together. Because like you said, because it was also a commercial studio as well, you couldn't really leave the desk set up because somebody else will be in the studio afterwards. So you had to be quick as well. And if you weren't quick, you had to log all the settings as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To then come in, I don't know, maybe a day after, get all the settings back again, and then print it.
Yeah, because when I used to work with Austin Reynolds, and it's funny because I have seen a lot of people under these posts wanting to know more about production, and and he could have 5 people in a week in there for about the 7 days, and he could have 20 bits of white tape going across the bottom of the mixing desk, and every channel would have its EQ written down. That's almost it for new producers or people who are just discovering producing. It would be hard to imagine that it would take you 3 days, and you might come back to a track a week or 2 weeks later, and you would have to peel off the 3 or 4 bits of tape to go back to that day, and then get.
I mean, one, we had the track sheets,
track sheets,
but then we also had the EQ sheets as well. So you'd have a printout of the desk itself, and you could go through them up. That was our total recall. Do you know what I mean?
Incredible. I worked, again, back to Maxwell, who I mentioned earlier. He was over from Australia, and he'd rented a studio space in Archway. He'd been to Japan making music with his Japanese friends, and to the UK to make music with his English mates, and he'd done this sort of like 3 or 4 month tour. And literally now I sat in the studio and we made our basses and our demos 2 or 3 tracks in like 3 or 4 hours. The youngsters now with the computer, it's such a different landscape of how you can make a tune.
I mean, literally, you don't really, if you've got a computer, you've got it all. Basically, you've got the whole studio there. Where my grounding is, you had a whole studio there. Do you know what I mean? With everything, you know what I mean? From the mixing desk to the 2-inch tape machine, 1/4-inch tape machine, or 1-inch tape machine, and like even like the editing as well, you had to do that manually as well. So like for some of the tunes, you're literally splicing tape. You've got the little chopping block, and you're splicing tapes, splicing sections together to re-edit your tracks in there.
And for someone like me who couldn't mix, that made it even worse. when a mix went out. Oh, what am I doing wrong now? And you grow to learn that people would splice and cut things.
And you learn to be fast as well. You had to be fast because we were in the commercial sector as well, and you've got people spending lots of money in the studio. You had to be kind of on it. So that sort of grounding helped as well.
Before we get on to Let Me Be Your Fantasy. So what kind of commercial acts did you have going through the production house studio, and anyone of note who was using it? Anyone you can remember at the time? Like,
gosh, there's so many people that went on to be bigger and better, I guess, from David Grant to actors that went through there, people like Lenny Henry.
Wow.
I mean, there was so many, like people like Edwin Starr. I don't know if you remember
Edwin Starr and David Grant.
So I mean, there was names that went through there, and you felt the heat as well. You know, when you're engineering someone's session and that, you had to be on it. Do you know what I mean? You know,
fascinating.
Yeah.
Because David Grant was huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely humongous.
Because I used to do writing with him and his wife as well.
Right.
Carrie.
Because there was David Grant and Jackie Graham had a track, didn't they, if I remember rightly?
I think they did, yeah.
So you wrote for David Grant and with him as well.
Well, I mean, because like for how the studio setup was then, you had Phil that was signed to handle music and that, so there was a lot of connections with certain artists and stuff like that. So they'd come in, you know, like working with Pete Williams, who was Status Quo's producer,
right?
And you're learning off of these people all the time as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you're in the hot seat and they're looking at you to be able to do everything. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But when you have experienced people like Pete Williams that came in, I was learning off of people like him as well. So it was kind of like this to and fro. Do you know what I mean? For certain people, you were the guy. Do you know what I mean? And for other acts, it was like, gosh, I didn't know you could do that. Do you know what I mean? And you're learning off of these people, so you're kind of taking all that forward into like your own production as well. Yeah,
the whole like the old school way of studio setups, how they run, it's fascinating because it's worlds away from the modern world. It's like Eddie Grant, not David Grant. Eddie Grant and his like history in studio as well as being a massive star. And I think it's really interesting, like, because a studio, especially to the level that you guys were working in, it has to function in such a way and have so much going through it. And like Pete Cannon, his studio is incredible. And
he's so talented.
I love Pete, and we're currently working on saying, I go down. Last time I was in with him, and it's like, I end up getting lost and like thinking, I don't want to make it. I'm just enthralled with all of this equipment. I've not seen this since like 94. Bloody hell, you got, and it's like, I think there's something amazing in Pete using all of that equipment, because it just, you know, and he's that talented that he really can be making tunes in 1 hour, like all of his peers in the modern world. However, doing it this truthful to himself, this honest to himself, this authentic to what he wants to do, makes him even more magic.
I mean, especially in this time as well. I mean, I've got, in my studio, I've got hardware gear as well, but I'm mostly computer based, because coming through all of that, you know, the equipment and that, I mean, just things like you're working in the commercial studios, a tape machine goes down, you've got people spending, you know, like £100 an hour or something like that. It's stress. Do you know what I mean? It's stress using hardware, you know, and it's just like, okay, if it's within a home setup, it's maybe not so bad, but using all that stuff, it's stressful. You know what I mean?
A different era. Do you remember that era when things were like biking over a DAT to the mastering room, biking over the remix for you to approve, or a bit of equipment breaking and bike over the bit of equipment urgent? It was such a different era.
I mean, I remember, like, because you had to be connected, being a commercial studio, you had to be connected to all the hire companies as well. So literally, if anything went down, you're on the phone quickly to a hire company, and they could be there maybe like within an hour. It's like a takeaway service. You know what I mean? So something's broken down. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Do you know what I mean? Okay, let's phone effects hire or whatever, and they could bring something down, you know what I mean, and take some of the steam off at least. You know what I mean?
I've got a question in my head that I don't want to lose, because I know that I'm not going to lose 92, 93 and 94. AI. Now. Much debate on the internet. You have gone through every decade, every era. Here you are, you've gone from recording bands, writing, you can sing, play, engineer, produce, everything. And you say now you use your computer. I'll let you know my thoughts when you've given me your thoughts on AI in the world of music making and creativity.
I'm for it.
Thank you. Thank you. Because you tell me why, and then.
Well, I mean, I just look back what we've come through, because like you have to understand that like when you're in a situation where everything is played live and you're in that sort of environment, then you're in the era of like when samplers come in. If you poo-pooed it at the time, or you were of the mind of like, no, you can't use that, you can't sample other people, you can't, do you know what I mean? We wouldn't be where we are right now. So as the technologies change, well, I think it's more for how my brain works as well, because I just have this creative thing that just doesn't switch off.
Yeah.
And I kind of embrace it in the sense of like, you know, you look at it like samplers. We've been through that. Do you know what I mean? We embraced it, and I look at it pretty much in a similar vein. Do you know what I mean? But I like how you use samplers and things like that. I still look at AI as like a tool.
Yeah.
It can take some of the menial sort of jobs off your hand. Do you know what I mean?
Because I'm seeing a lot of debate.
Yeah, there's loads.
I'm seeing so much debate from people going, it's unfair, it's taking away from artistry and creativity. But we will have that forever, where we have people who are unhappy with their trajectory, or unhappy that their music wasn't discovered. That's the issue that we have now, is when you Rev sub bass XL and then like Ibiza Records, and you know, there wasn't as many. But now we're in an era where there's tens of millions of people making a variation of dance music, whatever that is. And I had this conversation with John Doe the other day, who masters so many of the people's music in our world. Very, you know, he understands soundscape music. And I said to him, it's no different, while you're sat there, to Floyd DYCE knowing how to use all of these equipment and making bangers, because he's got the vibe and his experience. But then you have people who are just dabbling, didn't quite get it right. And AI is the same. You can tell when people have made the entire tune through AI, and then you can tell
if someone there's been a human element to it as well.
Human element. And it does not matter. A tune is a tune, and a tune is honest, and an organic tune that was meant to be. You will tell with or without AI, and I don't think people should be going, oh, it's not, because it's just another evolution of going from the session writing with musicians to using a sampler to now using AI.
Exactly that. And the thing to me as well, it ultimately comes down to one thing as well, is whether the tune sounds good. And it doesn't matter whether you've brought in a live band or, I mean, the only thing I would draw the line at is if you literally just sit there prompting. You're not actually putting any human element into it. You're just like, right, I want a tune that's written about a sunny day, and it's got to have this type of bass line. Bang, press a button, and the whole thing is done. I mean, like you said, one you can kind of tell, but it's getting so good now that you can't tell.
Sometimes you can.
But ultimately it does come down to whether a tune is good or not. Do you know what I mean?
Tune's a good tune.
And the people are going to tell you that either way. Do you know what I mean? If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. You know. But for me, I mean, I look at AI as like a tool, and it like you said, it could be like a session musician. Like when you're recording back in the day, if you're recording a track, you'd have session musicians on call. You'd have a keyboard player, bass player, you know. And it'd be like, right, I'm working on this tune. The bass player isn't that great in this band or whatever. Can you come down and, you know what I mean? Then you'd have someone come in and play a bass part. You could, in a sense, you can kind of use AI like that as well. It's like you're working on a human track, and it's like, the bass line or what I'm creating isn't quite right. And you can get AI to put its ideas down. Do you know what I mean? And add to what you're doing. You know what I mean?
I agree, mate. I'm not offended by it.
No.
I'm not offended by it. I think it's, you know, I don't make nowhere near as much music as I once did.
Yeah.
I have to have the mood or the vibe to go in with my friends to do it.
Yeah.
Let me be your fantasy.
Yeah.
I was
that was all organic.
I was about to say all organic, completely and utterly like human. And I was thinking about this earlier in the frame of 1992 and that massive golden era of British rave centric music.
Yeah.
So of course the Prodigy.
Yeah.
Humongous.
Yeah.
SL2. Humongous. It had quite a lot of like one-off hits that crossed in the chart. We had the Awesome Freeze, Don't Go. We had many incredible records that I'm very privileged to be able to, as a DJ on the clubs, the festivals, the overseas events. I'm very fortunate that as a young person who played them when I was 17, as a 50-year-old, I get to play those to big crowds of 50-year-olds. So I'm very honoured and privileged to be able to do that. I think, and I don't know, I think I'm right. I think that is the biggest one of, well, it wasn't till the year after that it crossed, if I'm right.
2 years later.
Yes, from when I got the white label, is it the biggest one in terms of number one and the time it stayed at the top?
And sales.
Like I say, I just mentioned the greatest of the time. In my head, I don't think that there was one that stayed so that, and the thing was, not only did it stay at the top of the charts and so
for 2 weeks and
as a dance record, it come through in that summer of 92 and took so long to break into that point. That was like the ultimate white label before being promoted on white label via the record shops, via the mailing list, then getting its official release on Production House, then going and going and going, because you hear like over the years like that's how a record would break. But it could take 2 or 3 months for it to go from that position to its chart position. But that took some time.
I mean, because ultimately it was an underground record,
and it was.
Do you know what I mean? And when we made tracks, then it wasn't one to be in the national charts or whatever. It was literally just to satisfy the creativity. Do you know what I mean? The main buzz really was to make something that like you could go out to. You go to a rave, you hear your track, great. You know what I mean? Job done. That's it. End of. Do you know what I mean? And like you said, two years later, you get a knocking at the door from London Records saying, right, we want to sign this up, release it. It's just like, really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like in your head, it's like
he's gone. It's gone.
You know what I mean? You know, it's done what he was doing, but it's okay. Do you know what I mean?
It's the perfect rave record. There's nothing. It has the hardcore in the middle. It has the most anthemic vocal. It has the incredibly crisp break beats to it. The sub bass is brilliant. I play this record all the time.
I've seen in your posts and that.
And like people say to me, don't you get bored with playing these kind of tunes? How can I get bored with spending a lifetime doing this? And here I am now at this age with people my age coming out in their, sometimes they're thousands, not their hundreds. And this was the sound of their teens or their early 20s. How can I get like Funky Moondance and eat, like sometimes when Sonia comes out with me, like sometimes people will, this sounds mad, we'll be crying in front of the decks because it's like that record has touched their soul, because it meant something to them when they was so
Yeah,
young,
yeah.
and it's travelled on.
Yeah.
It's a
I mean, I always kind of say, I mean, you never know kind of what journey you know, whether it's your music or other music is going to take. Every track, piece of music has its own journey.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like that. You know what I mean? There's tracks that I've done that, you know, no one would kind of know about. Do you know what I mean? They were released, but no one would necessarily know about. But yes, some pieces of music take on their own journey, and their journey hasn't ended yet. Or do you know what I mean? Or where you think that journey would end, you know, it's sort of gone beyond that.
They're timeless. Like absolutely.
Because I mean, when you look at the scene, I mean, the fact that what were 35 years later, and you can go to an event packed out, you play all these tunes that were like 30 years old, and they still have the same effect.
They still have it. Like, do you know what is mad for me? Is especially in the summer when there's more commercial 90s festivals that could have Dave Pearce, that could have people like Sash who made massive beef and late 90s anthems that are far. They have kick drums. They're a different production soundscape, and a lot of the times, these festivals book me as that early 90s rave guy,
right?
And the soundscapes of the tunes are different, and I didn't produce these. I'm just a DJ. I'm just a fan of this music who just so happens, and I'm really staunch. Like a lot of people play a house remix of these classics. I can't do that to the, you know, whether it's Shades of Rhythm, whether it's you, whether it's Prodigy. I can't play remixes of your classics because so many of they're bootleg. They do what you did an injustice, and sometimes I find myself in the middle of a festival where I've got these massive commercial dance acts on before or after me who made the tunes, and I get worried because I'm like, I'm playing this early 90s rave music that has a different production to it. And then confidence comes in, and then I'm like, but this is Let Me Be Your Fantasy. This is Every Time I See the Girl. This is Your Love. Do you know what? I'm here to represent this stuff. And how can people not love that?
I mean, it's a bit like, because I listen to David Rodigan pretty much every week on his reggae show, and he's the guy that plays some of these tunes literally, you know, you can hear the crust. You can hear the crust in the records, and he's playing music from, you know, way back. And it's like you said, for certain music you can't play the new version of it, or you know what I mean. Sometimes it just has to be the authentic.
It has to be
old version. Do you know what I mean?
Because I feel like I'm so emotionally attached to all of your musics, and I can see what it means to people. Like, so it doesn't matter whether it's an underground event. Like my rave story, or or Calling the Hardcore, you know, or a really commercial 90s. When I say commercial, I mean much like, you know, 1,000 people thing. I can't bring myself to play those versions just because it has a modern day kick drum to it, or a housey rhythm, or it's not for me. These records mean too much to me, and I see what they mean to people, and the magic is in their authenticity. The magic is in their vibe. Where did Let Me Be Your Fantasy take you all in terms of, like, you know, top of the pops, touring, and so many things at that moment? It's a 90s. It's one of the soundtracks of the 90s in popular music.
I mean, for me, it was kind of a short journey in a sense, because I would say 92 in my head, it done what it did.
On to the next year.
And when it did come out commercially, I'd say within the second week of it being, you know, number one,
Yeah.
I pretty much was heading out the door.
Right.
And sort of not being a part of that whole thing because, yeah, I mean, we sort of fell out.
Right.
We fell out. And a lot of things were sort of going on that I didn't really sort of like around that time. So pretty much as, you know, that the starting of I Need Your Loving, I was pretty much out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my whole sort of commercial moment with that, yeah, it was good for some of the things that we did.
Yeah.
But then it was bad in the sense of like, okay, this is kind of it.
Do you think because the track got so big, or?
No, I mean there were I mean stuff that sort of went on that I won't necessarily go into, but stuff behind the scenes that I really wasn't happy with at all. You know,
that's interesting because, as you know, like when I ever play the record, I always collab with you,
yeah,
and Baby D,
yeah,
and you all share it with me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more stuff I could share on my thing with it, and I just think that when it comes to maybe certain people posting things like when it's like yourself who's from the scene,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's easier to do that, but yeah, so much has sort of gone on behind the scenes with that made me just like, you know, pull away from that.
I guess really when something's so potent, so magical, so there's gonna, like that track, everything must have its ups and downs. I watched the most amazing thing. Sorry to go off on one.
No.
About Men at Work, Down Under.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I used to love that tune.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know the story, but it left me mesmerised. I watched a documentary on it.
Yeah.
About how they obviously the record started. The record was first made in the late 70s. It was a completely different track to how it become in 81, 82 when it crossed.
Yeah.
And it had the flute in it.
Yeah.
It had the flute moment, which no one ever questioned it. Even the person who wrote the nursery rhyme in the 40s, that a lady was still alive when they released it in 82.
Right.
And put that flute in it. And this blew me away. A company brought, like a commercial company in the 90s, brought the rights to a massive catalogue, and this nursery rhyme that this woman wrote in the 40s was part of the catalogue that they signed.
Right.
They never realised that there was a slight same like element to the poem.
Yeah.
And Down Under. In the mid to late 90s, a game show said, do you know what the flute is a rendition of?
Yeah.
No one knew.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the host said it was this nursery rhyme.
Right.
Which then alerted the publishing company.
Right.
They then went and sued. It ended up costing a £4 million for them to fight it. The legal cost on both sides was 4 million.
Yeah.
But all the publisher got out of it was £100,000.
Wow.
But what it did, the person who played the flute, it devastated his life. And he ended up losing his life over it all those years later.
Wow.
And it just gives me a stark reality.
Yeah.
Because we see it in underground, how these amazing records, like you say, they grow their own direction and their own legs. But sometimes that isn't always great.
And it's like what they say, it's like behind each track there's a story.
Yeah.
There's a story behind Fantasy. Do you know what I mean? Where, you know, I had to take them to court basically.
Right.
For stuff that was kind of going on.
Right.
And it's like a 7-year battle.
Yeah.
And because of the 7 year, I mean, I got the rights back in the end.
Yeah.
But that broke up so many relationships, friendships, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and court cases are always so hard.
Yeah.
And they're so draining on everyone. And did it make you a stronger person? Did it teach you, or what was the life lessons from a 7-year legal case?
It made me hate music.
Right.
It made me hate music because it was that thing of like I was saying to you, when we initially were making stuff for the scene, the hardcore scene, you know, before the scene, it was the love of music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But this was kind of one of those moments where it's like a reality check, in the sense of like, it's not all fun and games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's true.
And you kind of see the seriousness of it. You see the way that people are when it comes to money,
yeah,
and stuff as well. So yeah, it did put a dark reality
into it.
Yeah.
Because legal cases can be, especially when it either comes to music or trademarks, and they're not easy. They're in American films, and you hear all these things, and like, you'll hear from my lawyer and we'll sue you, and the real winners in those cases are always the solicitors and the lawyers with money, and even the person who wins in the case. 7 years is a long time, and for something that was such a beautiful creation.
That's the thing. It was supposed to be a fun thing. Do you know what I mean? It's supposed to be a fun thing, but then the reality of it is it breaks up relationships. The stark reality of, you know, what money can do, money can do to people. It sort of changes everything. So I kind of fell out of love with music for quite a while. Do you know what I mean? Did not feel creative.
Mate, that makes me sad, because I know how like humble and like, you know, what this music like means to you.
Yeah. The thing, because it's like you're saying, you hear of stories of, you know, the behind the scenes when it comes to lots of music, and there's so many stories, especially like legal stories, but then to sort of be in that and to be a part of that as well is like, crumbs, this is what they're sort of saying. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. A real shame.
From that, then I want to 93, like going back to what I was talking right at the start. 93 was a really creative era for British hardcore jungle, what was to come with drum and bass.
Yeah.
And Euphoria. I've got a question. What does the vocal say? I've got something within me, you. I got something within me, you. I can never work out that.
See, now if that track was,
help me.
if that track was being made today, that little U bit probably wouldn't be on it, because you digitally can, you know what I mean, take it out, and it's literally just one of those things of like the sort of feel as well, because it was like, okay, we can try and chop it down, you know what I mean, as much as you can, but then it felt different,
because it's a long, it's about 7 minutes long, 6-7 minutes long, and I still play that out continually. At things like Moondance, those kind of more like Rave, Epidemic, and I'm quite a quick mixer, so I will find the best bit of the tune that's going to ignite it. I can't do that with that tune because there's so many pieces to it, and I let it roll. It's like it's another defining moment from a different era of rave, 1993.
And I mean, the funny thing with that track, it was like the version that you're talking about, the Nino's Nino's Dream mix, because the original one was on the B side of
the theme,
of the theme, and it was literally something as casual of like, do you want to do a remix of this, Terry?
Yeah.
And Terry's like, yeah. I'll you know what I mean, do something on that. And literally, it was like a completely different track he brought. And I was just like, oh, is this the same tune? It's not until you sort of hear the samples come in, it's like, oh my God, it is the same tune, but he's done this complete remake of it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I was blown away by it. Do you know what I mean?
There's so
straight
many
away.
elements.
And it was just like, it was one of those sort of jaw dropping, your mouth's open kind of moment. And you're just like, shit, we've got to get this out. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, quickly do another version of the theme as a remix, but put Euphoria as the A-side, this version.
Because 93 was such a creative year, darker stuff.
Yeah.
Like the
more dubby, more reggae influence. Do you know what I mean?
Did you love all that?
Well, that's what I come from. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So we could be more in the element. I mean, for a lot of the stuff that we do make, a lot of the bass lines are kind of dubby anyway.
Oh, from day one of all your heavy stuff, But you know, for the, you know, later on down the line, you can make much more reggae influence and dub influence stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I mean that track. And this is another thing with working within the sort of an environment of so many sort of creatives around you as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like one of the guys could call me in. It's like, I'm working on this tune. I can't quite get where I'm sort of, you know what I mean? You just walk in like, try doing this, blah, blah, blah. And vice versa. I could be working on something, someone just passing by and like, what's that? Yeah. What if you tried, you know what I mean? And that was the vibe of the place. So creative, you know what I mean? What was your involvement with DJ Solo? Because there's two wicked sides on that. There's the piano-y side, then there's the jungle-y side.
Yeah, well I mean, DMS done the Dark Age with him. And such a tune, do you know what I mean?
Come on.
And because you know, Solo was within, you know, the house. We were just talking. It's like, what if we put something together as well? And you know, everything was just casual as that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you got some samples, blah blah blah, and it was as quick as that. Do you know what I mean? It was so creative in that whole environment. Do you know what I mean?
I love both sides of that. Both sides of that are just, they capture the moment, because one goes off more piano-y, breakbeat, sampling, turntable orchestra. The other side goes off dubby, breakbeat. It's still just a seminal jungle 93 tune. And I've heard like Nicky Black Market, Aries, people play. They've done Aries has done a version.
It's really good as well.
It's sharp as fuck, innit? It's just like that modern. That modern style. And I love 1993 because it couldn't be further away from 1990 and 91 in tempo, the creativity. But actually 1990 and 91 show you all them elements anyway. They say, look, here's breakbeats, here's dub, here's like sampled darker bleepy sounds. But in 1990, none of us could have imagined that it would get there. And when I'm really defensive of 93, because back to what I said earlier, I see a lot of people going, oh, it went for shit then, it all went dark, or it all went happy, but
it's taste at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Because for some people, they will follow the techno route to what techno become. Do you know what I mean? Some would follow hardcore to what it become. Do you know what I mean? It's all taste at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
I defend 93 because I feel it was like, it's so British, it's so unique. All of these producers have like,
and without certain sounds or eras, you wouldn't have what you have now.
You wouldn't have so much of it, and it inspired so many people from garage to grime to dubstep to the Pete Cannons and everyone now who do their music, the Tim Reapers. You know, there's so much. I want to name check MC Kinky because she loves you, and like you like whenever we talk, I love Kinky.
So do I.
Such a unique character. And
I mean, when I got to work with her, it was such a fun time because it was her that came sort of knocking, because she'd heard like all the stuff.
Because she's from Northwest, was she?
Yeah. And she heard obviously all the stuff we were doing. She's, you know, held me out and wanted to do some work with me, and so we started writing. Do you know what I mean? and it was, you know, a writing relationship and a friendship that sort of developed from there. I went touring with her in America as well.
Right.
You know, we were out there with the Prodigy, and we met so many. I was actually telling someone this story just yesterday, that like I'd never heard of RuPaul,
right?
But I met RuPaul out on the streets in New York at the time. We went to Delight, you know, Delight Groovies in the Heart.
Delight.
Went to their house and hung with people like that. Do you know what I mean? It was such a mad time being with Kinky. Do you know what I mean? It was just like got introduced to a whole different world and different crowd.
Character, man. Like she. Actually, I think did I have you? When me and Richard were doing rain dance at Electric, I think I had Kinky.
Yes, that's right. We were on the same bill. Yeah,
it was just a magical moment. Yeah. She was all like, you see Kinky, and I had to bring her up because like she's such a character, and I know that you two got on. Yeah,
well, we was on TV together, weren't we? With what's the Normsky show?
Yeah, Dance Energy.
Dance Energy. Yeah, we performed on there. Yeah, we've done so much stuff. Do you know what I mean?
She's brilliant. Yeah. Everything starts with an A. Her stories, her character. She's brilliant. Yeah. She's like an absolute character. Interesting you say about Delight, because I'm so geeky, like saying to you about Masters at Down Under, Men at Work, Masters at Work. But yeah, I've watched some brilliant documentaries about Delight. Obviously, Dimitri from Paris went off. Huge DJ. Delight, the actual the lead vocalist, become almost like a bit of an enigma and moved away from the limelight. The fact that they made Groovies in the Heart with Bootsy Collins,
I know,
P-Funk Diet, Connecting Q-Tip, Tribe Called Quest. What was that like touring with Prodigy in America?
Well, the thing is that it was more a case of being out there at the same time. We were doing different doing different events and stuff like that, but we managed to sort of like hang out because we when we done Dance Energy, it was weird as well, that whole sort of period, because it's like me and Kinky were on Dance Energy, Prodigy was on Dance Energy, then we flew out to New York not realizing that they were going to be there. So then out in New York we hung out together as well. It was just such a mad time, and that sort of period of time, this is the madness of the scene, because it's like, you know, you could be in an underground club, the next thing you're at somewhere completely different and there's a crowd there. Do you know what I mean?
Do you like PA?
No.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? How have you just said that to me? Right? How have you said that to me? I'm gonna say something to you, right? I never get nervous after an act. You can put anyone on before me, right? In our world, and I get nervous when it's these, like I said to you earlier, when it's like big trance or other 90s DJs with more commercial music, right? But at Labyrinth, last time you was on before me at Labyrinth, and I come on with a 2-hour set, I had to work, mate. You lot fucking stole the show, and you're here telling me nonchalantly I don't really enjoy them. You lot were in the vibe, and you made my life hard work. And you're telling me,
See, I mean, that's kind of like the remit. When we do shows, we try to make it as exciting as possible.
Brilliant, mate.
But the thing is, for me, even from way back, I've never really liked the performing part. I've never been Terry, Raymond, they love it. Do you know what I mean? I've never been that person. My safe spot is in the studio. Do you know what I mean? I love creating the music or going to, you know, clubs or events anonymously. Do you know what I mean? People not even knowing that you're there. Do you know what I mean? I love that.
You pissed me off because the other you really pissed me off last year, right? About your anonymity, right? So Sonia was not at the door, at Rave Story.
Oh.
She went for a wee. Floyd DYCE turns up. Our friend at the door don't know you, charges you, and you pay. You don't even say, I'll wait for Sonia. And I was furious. Sonia was furious, and she'd come back, mate. That sums him up.
But I go to I go to so many events and that, and even like my missus, she's like, "Oh, you could phone so and so," and I'm like, I hate phoning people.
You pissed me off that day.
I hate phoning people for guest this and that.
No.
I'd much rather just go in, pay the money at the door, because I obviously want to be there, so I wouldn't have been there otherwise. And go in, have a look about, have a little boogie, or chat to people or whatever.
You can do that with other people, but you're not. We was furious.
I know.
We went.
Sonia called me,
running around the
She's
club.
like, "Did you pay to come in?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, mate. Where is it? Well, I was just. She was embarrassed. But listen,
She's like, I'll send you. No,
Jules weren't, because you didn't say. You just come in incognito, head down. Here's my 20, man. Like,
it's even like with Orange, because like Orange, Chris is always like, get on the guest list or whatever. We literally pay every time we go to Orange.
No, I bet Chris don't like that.
No, he doesn't, and it's funny because you're standing like in the paying queue and that. You'd have Chalky White walk out, and he's like,
"What the fuck?
What are you doing there?" Like, we're in the queue waiting to come in.
That is old school. You
old school.
You cannot let go of the old school. So superhero, I feel like, after you saying the partying with production house, I always feel that's kind of like. Is that would you say that is when you say you fell out of love with music, is that the same time, or?
Yeah, because I didn't really release anything after that, I don't think. As far as I remember. There might have been like remnants of things that I might have been involved with.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty much.
It was such an anthem.
Yeah.
A jungle anthem.
I remember going to a story, I think it was. And it been like the first time it was heard, it was rewound like 6 times in a row. Yeah. It was just like, okay. By the third time, you're thinking, okay, you know what I mean? Let the tune play. Do you know what I mean?
Can I say, even though you made it DJ friendly with beats, you still made sure that you had vocals over the top of that intro. You couldn't just go the way of everyone else. Like there was even the DJ intro was creative.
Yeah. But I just love that though. I like intros. You know what I mean? I like the fact that you can not necessarily make them DJ friendly, even though by that time it was a thing of like, okay, because we had DJ DMS in house, you know what I mean? And for him, because he'd be the one pretty much who was playing a lot of our stuff first, he'd be like, just put a beat. You know what I mean?
Make it,
make it easier to mix it in.
I was quite thankful, like, once I'd learned how to mix, right, I'm off my head, this is a bit easier. Especially with the advent of digital, when I was always on the piss and it was like, oh, this is much easier. Obviously now I don't drink, so I have to think about think about DJing. So you're saying superhero is your exit?
I mean, it probably wasn't the exit, but I think it just turned out that it was pretty much, you know what I mean, the last from, you know what I mean, all of that. Yeah.
And what gave you your love back after that 7-year legal battle? And then
I actually got into football, into coaching.
Yes, I remember on our last interview.
Yeah, got back into football coaching, and that was coaching and managing like my son's team, and was part of a football club as well. And that kind of, I would say it kind of distracted me. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like there was a lot going on around that time. You know what I mean, with court cases and you know all that, lawyers and stuff like that. So it was a way of kind of distracting myself a little bit as well. I mean, I still had and still have always had a studio set up, but you just didn't feel that vibe of like that excitement of like running in your room and like, yeah, I've just heard something outside. I want to try and, do you know what I mean? That kind of buzz wasn't really there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, but I always had a setup at least anyway.
But the work you had done anyway was just.
Yeah, I mean, it's a large body of work, and I did do sort of bits and pieces. You know what I mean? Like doing stuff with Ray Keith, and stuff like that.
We love Ray, don't we?
Yeah.
We absolutely love Ray.
Yeah.
And then COVID come along. You did the box set, and it really, it really caught, because that moment in COVID, all of the sudden, there was a whole load of people who had reconnected with what they loved back then.
Yeah.
And your body of work is so powerful and has so many incredible tunes that it just took the COVID buying vinyl market.
It's weird because around that time, during COVID, I was living on my own.
Right.
And I would say it's kind of within that sort of period that I kind of found some more of the fun.
Yeah, good.
Back
good,
in music and that. Do you know what I mean? And it's also a combination of, because we were connecting with so many people online.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that used to go to Orange or just ravers just in general were just connecting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Online and that. And there was just that fun. Do you know what I mean? Around that sort of time. And I kind of started dabbling more and building beats and
no, I'm pleased, because like it would just be a shame, a crying shame, if you hadn't found that love and passion again. And I mean, again, SS yesterday, Aries, Nicky Black Market, so many of us have had these discussions that COVID was actually a good thing in many the first 6 months. Obviously, once we come out of it, it really fragmented things. It really messed with people's minds. But yours is another story that actually people reconnecting with your music, reconnecting with them, meant that this amazing amount of work getting
introduced to Chris.
All of this amazing stuff got reissued and re-put out and found homes again. But in turn found your passions and love again.
Yeah, because I mean also on the box sets there was like new tunes that we sort of done as well. So it was kind of like a step back into that era, but then with a slight, you know, newness to it as well.
Good.
But yeah, just talking to people like, you know, Chris from Night Force, just conversations with him kind of gave you the vibe back as well. You know what I mean? Because I kind of got excited based on the fact of what he wanted to do, and it sort of in turn made me sort of a bit more sort of excited about music.
Do you know what's great as well? The timing of when it come out. Because me and Sonia had the same with my book, and with some other stuff we did. If it had come before COVID, or if it had come after COVID, it wouldn't have had level of sales, because there was such, it was such a moment. Like we couldn't believe, like my book had already been out 5 or 6 years, and had already done amazing things for us. Then all of a sudden COVID come. And it was like the book had only just been released, because I've been on the train forever of old Rave. So I'm just going along thinking, anyone this book's going to find, it's going to find. It sells a level every week. But all of the sudden, it was doing thousands. But it made...
I mean, I kind of have a little bit of a theory, because it's almost like everyone's so on this gravy train, and everyone's just moving in one direction. I think COVID kind of gave everyone a chance to reset and reconnect
to what they love.
Well, not only to what they love, to people. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like so many people that I used to rave with or had a connection with in the past. It's like, every now and again you might speak to them or whatever, but you're just busy with your family, with your train. Do you know what I mean? But this actually helped everyone to actually really connect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like time kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
And you could kind of look around the scenery. Do you know what I mean? And actually see a little bit of the scenery again. And I think a combination of that, slowing everyone down, gives people a chance to then think about, you know, things that maybe that they were into.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
So whether it's then seeing your book or hearing, you know, our music and that, it's like all of a sudden people sort of reconnect and just like you focus on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think now that we're not in COVID, I don't think everyone's as focused.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
No way. And then also it's like, I just think, I talk about timing all of the time.
Yeah.
Time, right?
Yeah.
And I just think because of the sheer excellence, inspiration, creativity, anthemic nature, if they're not anthems, they capture the moment in an underground sense.
Yeah.
Timing was just perfect with that box set for you.
Yeah.
Because it, like I say, if it had been now
For both of them, yeah.
yeah, now I hear my friends who release records, oh, we're struggling, oh, we haven't broke back, but you know, it's back into the how anything that's going to be sold works, you know, like, but that moment that your projects come out, we're in a moment where people had disposable income, reconnecting with what they love when they were teens. And if anyone's music deserved that buzz, it was yours, because it was incredible. Like you say, like it reconnected you. And then I'm not having that you don't like doing PAs because like you guys are out on the road and you're creating vibes out there whenever you play.
I mean that side of it, you know what I mean? Just the vibes alone, do you know what I mean? That's I'm a vibes person, you know what I mean? And it's so good in a sense to kind of be reminded of, like, you know, the little bit of noise that we made out there and sort of seeing people's reaction to your music like 35 years later. It's just mental. It's just like, okay, I'll take that.
Well, my mates from Centreforce, Andy Swaller and Danny Swaller, you was in Tenerife the other week, and they said you fucking smashed it.
That was with
Pone.
With Terry and Raymond were out there because they were MCing for Honai, weren't they? Yeah. I'm hoping that we might be going out there properly as the house crew.
Oh, Bruce, so you weren't there?
No.
Right.
This Nino and Micro was out there,
right?
And they was just sending me the footage of, like, you know what I mean? It's like, wow.
Well, all I heard was house crew smashing. They smashed it. But you're all the house crew, isn't it?
Exactly.
You guys are stuck together, aren't you? And the bond is amazing, and I think that's why the PA's also so good. Yeah, and that's why you made my life so hard bloody work. but
it's mad. I mean, like I was talking about that, you know, the whole thing with fantasy, that kind of damaged our relationship as well, like you know, with Nino and Micro as well. But you know, because we run so deep, you know, we sort of got through it.
And we're so good to see.
We're still connected.
What is the future of you when you do get into the studio? How do you see your legacy? You know
what? I don't even kind of look at it in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I kind of never have, in the sense of, like, the mentality is a little bit like, even back then it was like, right, you've made a tune, I've got an idea for another one. Right. Do you know what I mean? So you're always looking at the next idea. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of stuck with me. Do you know what I mean? I don't necessarily sort of look at the tunes and think, you know, blah, blah, blah. It can do this, it can do that. It has done this, it has done that. It's just like, right, I can make a better tune the next time, or I can make something else with another. Oh, I've got another idea that I want to try out. Do you know what I mean? And that's always been the way that it is for me. Because I keep telling people like you've asked me what my favorite tune is. I don't even like my music. Do you know what I mean? But out of the pile, I would say that Daydreaming is my favorite. But some people say, well, maybe that's just because you trying to be too much a perfectionist or trying to be too perfect. It just, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Because I always feel that like the next tune is going to be the one that I like, or do you know what I mean? So I've just always been on this gravy train of just trying to make the next one better.
Yeah, I'm eternally optimistic in that, like, I could go home and I'll say to Sonia, so SS was in yesterday, and I'll go in and I'll go, that was the best one yet.
Yeah.
And then I'll go in now and I'll go, Floyd was the best one yet. and it doesn't matter. Everyone, I'm eternally optimistic and excited, like a.
That must be what I am as well. Eternally optimistic. Yeah.
Eternally optimistic. That, like, I'm so excited by everyone. You know, me and Fabio, that was my favourite one. Fantasy. you was better than Fabio. SS. You was better than Fantasy. And he's, I can't help it. I just want to stay excited.
I think it's obviously a perfectionism thing as well, but it's I think we're kind of also hooked on the buzz as well.
Yeah.
Because I do get excited when I walk into my room and thinking, right, you know, gonna create now.
Yeah.
You know, because it's lucky to sort of be in that sort of position where you can
do it,
where you can just make your brain just be, you know, that creative and just thinking of ideas.
Yeah, I've kind of been thinking about this a lot, and I brought this up with SS, that if we're creative minded, we're very privileged that we can get that creativity out. We're even more privileged if we can do it and then share it with one person or 1,000 people. Because it's like with me, before I come and met you today, I was doing something creative with a mix. I've then met you. And we're talking about creativity. And then I'm looking forward to getting home, telling Sonia you're the best interview I've ever had, and then carrying on with the creativity of what I was doing this morning. And we're very, very fortunate that we can do this
and been doing it for so long as well,
and share what we love with people. And it's and I do think it's like an almost a spiritual thing as well. It's
100%,
you know,
100%.
We've been blessed with something, and I think sometimes it can be hard for others to comprehend if they're not creative or if they're not in the vibe. And you summed it up. We want to be in that vibe. We want to feel that.
Yeah, we definitely want to feel that all the time, because I always call it like my happy place. You know what I mean? It's just like when you're in that zone or that mindset or whatever, it is like being in your happy place. You know what I mean? It's like the world just sort of dissolves. And
I found like sometimes I get people before we end off. I've got we meet really organised people. I'm not organised. Like, I literally run on adrenaline, vibes, and the next idea. That is me. Whereas Sonia, it doesn't matter who, you know, vibes comes around and says, Sonya's always in the computer, surrounded by your diaries, diaries and all that. But like the other day, someone's doing a Zoom interview with me on Thursday. And literally, she's come to me with the idea. I've said yes. Straight away, she's gone, I'm going to send over a Zoom meeting. And my instant reaction was, fuck, you are organised. Don't know me. And already I'm going, fuck. But she would have, and this happens all the time in my life. I guarantee you, I don't write it down. Right? But in this instance, because she was so organised, I went, do you know what? I better write this down. I simply don't run on organisation. I run on adrenaline and vibes.
It's like my missus. She's the organised one. She's meticulous in organising things. You know what I mean? And I will forget things.
Oh, mate, we'd be lost without women. I did, mate. I did. Sonia was angry with me yesterday, right? So she has, right? So I come in Friday night. I did a radio show. I'm just going off on one now, everyday stuff between us all. So I come in. I went out. I did a radio show at Centreforce on Friday. So I've come in, and the booking come through to me, like to me, like, and everyone knows not to deal with me.
Yeah,
because
'cause
it's just got to go in,
yeah,
out.
yeah.
I'm going to tell you yes,
Yeah.
right? So I come in, and so this booking, really good booking, comes through. I open the diary. Oh, brilliant!
Yeah,
I can do it. Boom, boom, boom. Put me in.
yeah.
A festival.
You've double booked yourself.
So every other morning or twice a week, somebody says, this is in. Right. So I've said to her, oh, such and such, blah, blah, blah. You know that I have a sheet of paper that I'm dealing with people on, that because she went out on Friday night and I hadn't put all of these in.
Yeah.
And on this bloody date that you've just said that you'll do 9:30 to 11 in Ipswich or wherever, you're actually down in Maidstone, Kent at exactly the same time. What do I tell you? Do not touch your diary. We would be lost without it. But creativity.
How did you get around that one then?
I went and hid in my room.
Sitting on the naughty step.
I literally went, close the door, put my head, didn't have the music blasting. Okay. And then basically, then I got CC'd in the emails. What time does your event end and finish? We can make all this work, but we're vibes people. We run on energy when it comes to music.
Exactly that. It's an
unexplainable thing.
Because it's like when I'm in my room, I literally forget time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, you're supposed to be doing something or something's being arranged and that, and you just work through it.
I know, mate.
Yeah.
It's pretty. What a life, mate.
Yeah.
I love you, mate, and you've given me everything and more with this interview. And you, mate, I meant what I said at the start about cheers. I love you. Thank you for coming in.
Big ups to you as well.